Hi, this is Brian Wicklund coming to you from Garfinkel Schwartz's Maitland office today. Maitland, Florida is a suburb of Orlando. We also have offices in Titusville, Florida, which is very near the Port Canaveral on the eastern side of Florida. However, we travel everywhere that our clients may be across the country and even in other countries, helping longshoremen and Defense Base Act clients who are civilian contractors. What I wanted to do today is to tell you a little bit about myself, which I don't normally like to do. However, I think you should get to know a potential lawyer that you might hire in the future. The best way that I can tell a story would be looking back 20 years ago, which actually seems like it was yesterday. I was in law school and I had a mentor. It turned out to be my mentor. He's now a Superior Court judge, but back then we practiced law together while I was in law school and then right when I got out. He did come to me one day and he said, I got appointed to be a magistrate judge in Atlanta, so I can't practice with you anymore. But he gave me some pieces of advice that I still remember to this day. What he basically told me was, how do you grade a lawyer? What do you look for in a lawyer since you're a new young lawyer? And I said, well, you know, I was on the law review in law school, and he's like, that's boring, no one cares about that. And I said, well, I get good grades and I might actually be able to join a very prestigious law firm. And he said, I don't care about that. And I said, well, you know, what can I tell you? I'm a good guy. I try hard. And he's like, that's boring. What about anything else? I said, well, I wrote a bunch of articles on different things, constitutional laws and stuff like that. And he said, that's, again, completely and utterly boring. So I said, I'm sorry, Judge, I don't know what you're getting at. I don't know what you're saying. He said, the way that I judge a lawyer is if I'm in big trouble, and luckily for him, he was never in big trouble, but if you're sitting in a jail cell and you're a friend of mine or a potential client of mine or a client, and you're running out of luck, and say your wife is going to divorce you and you think she's going to take you to the cleaners, or your kid got injured really badly and no one's paying for his injuries. He said, the way I grade a lawyer is, if something like that happened to me, who would I call? If I was in, I'm not going to call myself because, you know, a person that represents himself has a fool for a client. So you have to have a list somewhere. Who would you call? And you want to be that person in your career that is on everybody's list of people to call when they get in a terrible jam. And I've tried to live my life that way throughout the last 18 years of practicing law. I think I'm pretty successful at it. And it's primarily because when he told me the way you can get that type of trust is not only to be a smart lawyer or to be on the law review, it's to get to know your friends and your family, their families, and your clients and their families, and get that type of respect that when something really, really bad happens, they're going to have your phone number in their phone. So if you don't hire our firm and you're injured and you're thinking that the insurance companies are not doing the right thing, call somebody. But I hope if we meet and we get to know each other, then I'll be the first person on your phone, whether that be a murder charge or a divorce. I get calls, even though I only practice this type of law, Defense Base Act and Longshore Act, I do get calls all the time from my friends who are in jams, and they know that at least if I can't help them, I have somebody in my phone that I would call, and I think that's something that I could provide to people as well. So that's me, Brian Wicklund. I love to play golf, although I never get a chance to because I'm too busy. I always have my golf clubs on hand, though, just in case. And the biggest thing I miss from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I'm from originally, is fishing. I love to trout fish with my dad. And we would fish for walleyes and muskies and things like that too, which I miss here. Great fishing in Florida, but not quite the same as clear waters in northern Pennsylvania. Otherwise, I played 4 sports in high school. Huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and you know, if we want to talk about anything that doesn't have to do with, say, hockey or soccer, which they didn't have when I was back in high school in Pittsburgh, then I'd love to converse with you about that. And I just have to say, go Steelers, and we're looking pretty good right now. So signing out here from the Maitland office at Garfinkel Schwartz, this is Brian Wicklund, lead counsel. I hope if you ever need me, call me and I'll help you. Thank you very much for your time.